Before we dive deeper into Carl Jung's analytical psychology, this video will serve as a summary of Jung's main idea on how the mind and the psyche work. And if you're a second year psychology student in the Philippines, this video will help you a lot. Now let's begin. So, who is Carl Jung to the general 21st century people? Jung is the man who conceptualized the concept of the MBTI, the introvert and extrovert, things like that. They're called the psychological types. And that's it. I think that's the only thing the people of the 21st century know about Carl Jung. In fact, not all people even know that these terms came from him. But Jung has something more to offer than this. His main ideas are mind-breaking and super relatable. Many believe that Jung's ideas came from Freud, but that's not true. But we can't also deny the psychogenesis was popularized by Freud and Breuer. So psychogenesis refers to the idea that mental disorders and psychological phenomena originate in the mind or the psyche, like the unconscious, something like that, rather than being caused by purely physical or biological factors. No wonder why Freud and Jung's ideas look similar. But Jung already knew about the unconscious and did a study about it before he met Freud. But Freud's influence is the one who gave a clearer idea of the unconscious. Not only that, but Freud also introduced psychoanalysis, which taught Jung how to create a scientific and systematic framework. So yes, Jung had already started to discover the psyche and the unconscious before he met Freud. But also yes, Freud's influence helped Jung to develop his own theory, which is now known as the analytical psychology. Now that the difference between Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung is settled, welcome to Carl Gustav Jung's fundamental ideas about the psyche and personality. So the whole point of Carl Jung's theory is the concept of individuation. So what is individuation? It is the process of becoming oneself, becoming the whole person, the whole version of yourself, or becoming a pure whole individual. So, what is the process of becoming a whole person? How does a person become whole? There are three steps to achieve individuation, but to understand the steps, I will first introduce you to Carl Jung's model of the psyche. Jung's model of the psyche, or model of the mind, will open you to the world of psychology, philosophy, mysticism, and alchemy. A very unique point of view on how the mind and personality work. Now let's enter the Jungian mind. Jung's idea of the mind is hard to grasp without a graphical representation, so he created a mandala. Jung is known as the modern shaman. He is one of the well-known psychiatrists who explored and employed science and mysticism in psychology. No wonder he used a mandala as a graphical representation of the mind. So the word mandala is a Sanskrit word used by Eastern religions and philosophies, whose shapes and patterns are geometric configurations that symbolize something. One example of mandala is the Taoist symbol of yin and yang. So what does the shape of the mandala symbolize? The shape symbolizes unity and wholeness. So going back to yin and yang, the circle represents the unity of the yin and yang, and without it, the symbol will look divided. The circle symbolizes the wholeness of the two colors that oppose and attract each other at the same time. So, going back to my first statement of this chapter, he created and used the mandala as a graphical representation to symbolize the unity and wholeness of the human mind, psyche, and personality. So for Jung, the human psyche is composed of different geometric shapes and colors that symbolize something, and those shapes are united under a large geometric shape? Yes. And those smaller shapes are known as archetypes. In the next chapters, I will talk about the different archetypes that manifested in in Jungian psychology. But before we delve on the different archetypes that manifested predominantly in the collective unconscious, let's talk about the levels of the mind first. So let's start with the basics, where everyone is familiar and understands. The conscious and unconscious, referred to as the level of the psyche. The conscious contains the ego, while the unconscious contains, well, two types of unconscious for Jung, the individual and the collective unconscious. So the ego is the center of all consciousness. Whatever we feel and sense goes with the ego. Therefore, it symbolizes the rational and logical world. The problem with the ego is that it lacks a core personality. The ego alone cannot work the person whole or complete. The ego is not enough for the person to achieve individuation. Thus, the man must meet and face the part of his mind that's unconsciously trying to influence him. And I think everyone already knows what I'm talking about here. So, have you guessed what I was referring to already? Yes, it's the unconscious. The personal unconscious is somehow similar to the Freudian unconscious and subconscious. It contains all forgotten, repressed, or subliminally perceived experiences of the person. The personal unconscious is based on our experiences and therefore unique to each of us. The collective unconscious, suggested by the name, you already have an idea what it is about. The collective unconscious is experienced and shared across humanity from the earliest times to the present. So, there you go. To avoid information overload and hurting your attention span, I will make a separate video for the archetypes. But to sum this video up, always remember, the main core of Jungian psychology or analytical psychology is it is for the person to achieve wholeness, or in Jung's terms, individuation. Individuation is the unity between the conscious world and the unconscious world.